Hello there. I'm Alex, and I sell cheese for a living. As a cheesemonger and certified cheese professional, I have helped thousands of customers find their favorite cheese. Each episode, I'll share a little bit of what I've learned behind the counter as we dive into the vast, fascinating world of all things cheese. Welcome to the Modern Monger's first video episode. And this week is a good time as any to celebrate National Cheese Day, June 4th, every year. Now, there are a lot of food holidays on any given calendar, but this one's special. This one's my favorite. Cheese already earned attention a long time ago. It's been a part of human food culture for thousands of years, showing up everywhere from survival necessity to celebration centerpieces to something you quietly eat standing in front of the fridge at midnight without really thinking about it. Cheese changes depending on time, temperature, humidity, and how far along it is in its own natural transformation. The same cheese can taste completely different depending on when you meet it. So today is simple. We're going to talk about some fun ways to celebrate this best of all possible worlds, where cheese not only exists, but we get to play with it and eat it in all kinds of crazy ways. For me, National Cheese Day really isn't for learning about cheese, although every day is a good day to learn more about cheese. No, for me, it's about enjoying it and getting to eat some that hopefully is special or important to you, and being able to enjoy it with friends or family. A good way that I like to enjoy cheese is by throwing it onto a wooden board with some fresh fruits, chocolates, nuts, and pickles. There are countless ways to build a cheese board, but this cheese day, I'll be aiming to build one my way. I've compiled my favorite cheese board cheeses right now and what I would pair with them. First, we're going to go with Manchego. It's firm, nutty, slightly grassy, and this sets the structural base for the board, something everyone else can lean on. Manchego has been one of my top cheeses for years now, and it feels right to include it on my best of all boards. Made from Manchega sheep's milk, this cheese can only be made in Spain, as it is a DOP protected cheese. For this, I would pair a green olive or a spicy pickled green bean. Quince paste is a super popular pairing for Manchego, but for this board, I chose to leave it off. Next is going to be Hennings 9-month cheddar. Big brand call out here. Hennings has made some of my favorite cheddars for a long time. It's clean, developed sharpness with enough age to bring depth without overpowering the rest of the board. One of my all-time favorite cheddars. It's a Wisconsin cheese that hasn't quite aged a year, and it gives you the best of both worlds. It's slightly sharp while still creamy when chewing. For this, I would pair some stone ground mustard and a rosemary cracker. Next, we can go to the Ripenar Gouda. It's an aged Gouda. It gives you some nutty, dense, and slightly sweet notes with the little crunchy tyrosine crystals that form only through extended aging. This special cheese gives me caramel notes after eating it, and just like the other cheeses I've listed, this has been one of my go-tos for quite some time. It's just an excellent cheese. And for this, I would pair it with a Marcona almond or a sliced pear. Next, let's look at Meredith Dairy Feta. It's soft, tangy, and briny, and it resets the palate and keeps heavier cheeses from stacking too densely. This is a cheese from Australia, and it is a goat and sheep's milk cheese that has been soaking in olive oil and an herb blend. It is so creamy and rich from the oil bath. This could go many different ways, but for me and my wife, some toasted sourdough and maybe a grilled heirloom tomato slice on top. It gives this cheese more of an appetizer vibe, but it feels really good to put it with this board. Marin French breakfast cheese is creamy, tangy, and with a little springy texture. This cheese comes from one of the oldest companies in America. In fact, I think it is the oldest cheese company in America. Their Petite Breakfast Brie for me is an excellent cheese to help introduce people who might not love brie to the category. Since they don't allow the cheese to get to the aging process, this cheese does not have that classic white fuzz over the rind. Instead, the whole cheese is just paste. And for this one, I love a fresh and fruity jam or a fig spread, maybe with a caramelized nut alongside it. That would be a good pairing for this cheese. Next, we can look at Stravecchio Asiago. Firm, salty, slightly mineral. And it's a grounding finish that gives this board a defined endpoint. Now, this cheese I haven't had in quite a few years due to not being able to get it in my store and not finding it in any surrounding area where I live. But I love the almost peppered pineapple flavors that this cheese can bring out. If I was able to have this cheese this National Cheese Day, I would not pair it with anything. I would just savor the complexity of it as it is. And to further the celebrations, let's say you aren't in the mood for a big plank of wood covered in old hard milk. What do? Well, cheese doesn't just stop at boards. It changes under heat, pressure, and structure, making it a perfect ingredient in many, many recipes. So this cheese day, celebrate by making a dish from my following selections. A classic is mac and cheese. Using a system of emulsification where starch and fat merge into a unified texture, add in some kind of spiral or shell-shaped noodle to hold in all that cheese sauce. Maybe even bake it with a little breadcrumb on top. You have yourself a fine casserole after that. If you don't want to take the time to make a big dish of pasta, do a grilled cheese. Simple structure, controlled melt the crisp exterior with a soft interior. If you put 3 or more types of melty cheese on a crisp sourdough slice and then cover it with butter before pan griddling, we have created one of the most savory and indulgent foods there has ever been. Grilled cheese is for any age group, and depending on how intricate you get with it, this simple sandwich can overcome anything and even mingle with elite sandwiches of the world. Let's go back to pasta for a second. Let's say you wanted some cheese ravioli. It is cheese encapsulated in pasta. It's hidden until the moment you bite it. And it doesn't matter if it's a red sauce or a white sauce or even your Sunday gravy. If you put a plate of cheese stuffed pasta in front of me on this cheese day, it'll be gone before you can say Parmigiano Reggiano. Another fine cheese option would be a quesadilla. You add direct heat with compression, and the melt works together into a cohesion. There are versions of a quesadilla that add chicken, steak, or other protein selections, but the truest expression of a quesadilla is right in the name. It means little cheese thing. And leave it at cheese and a little grill mark on the exterior, and this is an appetizer that can become a full meal if there's enough cheese stuffed inside. And let's not forget about your kids who may not be as excitable about cheese as the rest of us, but they deserve to participate in all the fun. For them, you could try a Lunchable. It's processed, simple, it's familiar, and whether it is the cracker stackers or the chips and cheese dip, even a humble Lunchable can help someone get in the cheesy spirit any day of the year. Now, National Cheese Day isn't really about origin stories or official recognition. For me, it's about paying attention to one of our older and more expressive foods. Cheese is one of the oldest food technologies still in active use. It has moved from preservation, necessity, and culinary identity without ever losing its connection to either. If you, like me, decide to create a cheese board this National Cheese Day, the food you've prepared is a snapshot of time, biology, and human decision-making all sitting in one place before it disappears after about 10 minutes. It reflects where you are at in your cheese journey on any given June 4th. If you're any average connoisseur of cheese, your board this year may be different from your board next year. And that for me is one of the more fun parts of cheese, being able to love it and enjoy it, even if the pieces you enjoy may be different from day to day or year to year. It's something ancient, it's simple, and it's always changing. And it's shared for no other reason than the fact that it's worth noticing. This has been a quick episode just to do a shout out to celebrate National Cheese Day. And it's our first launch episode of putting my face on a video. Tune in next week. I don't say that a lot. Tune in next week where I get my first interview guest, a man named Lee. Thank you for listening and watching to this week's National Cheese Celebration episode. My name is Alex, and this has been The Modern Monger.